I feel like I should have embedded the BT music into this, so I could have some music beforehand. I can
An
do that actually.
interlude.
I
We
can do
should
that for
do.
the next time. Yeah, I can
Do
embed it into the PowerPoint as long as I remember to press play on it.
it. Yeah, you should do.
Yeah, get some. I can't remember. It's called something lovely, like entice and excite BT version.
Brill.
Thrilling.
Well, based on that, I know that we've still got quite a few students who might be joining us in the next few minutes, but also I do always say I promise that we're going to start at 6 p.m. or whenever we're due to start. So let's start at 6 p.m. for those people who were kind of with us early. So I don't want it to be delayed for you. So firstly, welcome and thanks so much for joining us today. My name's Ellie and I'm from Pathways UTM. I might be a familiar face to a few of you because I've been on a number of these different events. But don't worry, as you know, I'm not going to talk the whole way through the session. We've actually got experts here today to talk about BT, so it won't be too much of me. But really, you know, welcome back. What a challenging year in some respects, and we go into 2021 and all I do is say well done to our students for turning up and taking the opportunity to learn a little bit more about your future, a bit more about different brands, about what you could potentially go into, and just being here on an evening in January to learn a little bit more. So well done to you, that's really impressive. In terms of practicalities and housekeeping, I've seen a few questions go into the chat box, which is great. I love questions. There's no bad question. Let's ask as many as possible. But if possible, there is a Q&A box as well. So if you do have any specific questions you want to make sure that we get answers to for you today, then I would kind of direct you to the Q&A box, because that means I'll just keep my eye on them at the end of the session. Then we have an allocated time to kind of go through them with you. Any other comments or points like Zaid's made around it being 6 p.m. and ready to start, then put them in the chat box. Keep writing those comments in the chat box, that's great. And yeah, do get involved and make the most out of the session today. You've got some experts on the line, so let's use them. But yeah, that's what I'd say in that respect. Don't worry, we can't see you or hear you, so you are, for the ease of this session, it is a webinar style session, so any kind of way you want to interact with us, it would be through that chat box and through the Q&A box. But really go ahead, ask as many questions as possible. I'm here if there's anything at all that you need me sorting out, or something to do with the kind of technology side of things. I know that it can be challenging at times, so don't worry, I'm here. But really, that's the kind of boring practicalities from me, and over to kind of the more exciting and introduction from those at BT today.
Excellent. So yes, thank you for that. Hi everybody, welcome. Thanks again for taking time out this evening to join us. I know we're quite early on in 2021, so thank you very much for freeing up the time to take part in this. My name's Kate Gregory and I work in the early careers team at BT. So a bit about me, I've been in recruitment about 15 years now, early careers recruitment, quite considerably, but also in professional recruitment as well, and I've been with BT for the last 3 years. I'm joined today by a couple of our apprentices, so you guys, you want to say hi? Charlotte, do you want to say a quick hello first?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm now a second year apprentice at BT. I'm based in London, so work in the BT Tower, and I'm actually doing a degree apprenticeship, so I'm doing digital and technology solutions. I never thought I would be doing tech, but I'm really loving it.
Excellent, thank you. Lewis, do you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name's Lewis. I'm a year above Charlotte and very much the same in the sense of digital technology solutions degree, but I've been there an extra year and I'm focusing in sort of the networking side at the minute, so focusing on all the kit and also how we deliver our end-to-end TV. But that's a little bit about me as well.
Lovely stuff, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is just take you through a presentation. So I'll speak through the slides, and yeah, any questions you can ask them, and there will be plenty of opportunity afterwards. So let's go through. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Any issues, I'm sure I'll be made aware of. So why choose BT for your career journey? So don't think of us as BT. We've also got BT, EE and PlusNet within our portfolio. So we are the BT Group, a very large organisation. So I'm sure you've all heard of BT, but hopefully after today you'll know a bit more about us. We've also got Openreach, and Openreach are our wholly owned subsidiary. So they own and build the networks that make phone lines and broadband happen. And that's not just for BT, but actually for other communication providers as well. So BT, we're more than just a broadband company. So we also work with the NHS, so the 999 calls, millions of those coming through on an annual basis. We're heavily involved in that, as well as air traffic control, contactless payments, also even just booking an Uber. None of that would happen without us and our graduates and apprentices. So I'm sure the guys will vouch for the fact that as an apprentice, you do get stuck in quite early on. You know, it's definitely not a job where you're sort of making coffee or anything like that. You do get really stuck in, and our apprentices are definitely sort of helping out with some really fundamental roles at the moment. BT is a global business, so we're actually present in 180 countries. A lot of people aren't aware of that, but we are very much an international business. So we do help create and collaborate and communicate better than ever. Over the past 10 years, we're actually the largest technology sector research and development investor in the UK. So we did file 100 inventions, which is quite impressive, ranking as third of all UK businesses. So lots of innovation happening all the time here at BT. Some of our early careers employees have literally been keeping your broadband going during lockdown. Obviously, we've been through quite a challenging time, and we've been reliant upon our broadband, I think, more than ever over the past 9 or 10 months or so. So certainly, we do have a lot of apprentices that have been sort of keeping the broadband going for everybody. So really crucial part of what we do. So yeah, we're going to find out why you think you should be an apprentice at BT. So why BT? We're rated as the 4th best provider of apprenticeships in the UK. Actually, we're number 1 in the private sector, which is quite new information that I received last year. So that's really, really good news. We do offer apprenticeships from level 2 up to level 6, meaning that hopefully we've got something for everybody. There are different entry requirements to each level of apprenticeship. So to get the details of what you're applying to, it's always good to kind of look at those jobs and see what the criteria is. But yeah, it does vary between the levels. So hopefully there is something out there for everybody. You've probably heard it before, but with the apprentice roles, it's the chance to earn while you learn. Obviously, you're getting that qualification, but you're also fulfilling a job role and you're earning money while doing so. You also get access to great benefits here as well. So working at BT, obviously getting free broadband is quite important. So all employees here are entitled to the free broadband, also discounted BT Mobile, BT Sport. Also freebies to see things being filmed in the BT TV studios, which is quite exciting. Not too much of that happening, unfortunately, for obvious reasons, but hopefully that will be all up and running again soon. Everybody gets 3 volunteering days a year also to give back to the community. So that's actually 3 days paid employment where you can take some time out and help a charity. So you could do it as part of your working team, or it's something individually you could do. Actually, I did this back in the summer, sort of when we were out of lockdown. I ran a Macmillan bake sale. So yeah, that was my part of the volunteering for this year. But yeah, it's really flexible, and it is a way of sort of giving back to maybe a charity that you're passionate about, but there's certainly lots of charities that we do support as a business as well. So innovation is at the forefront of what we do. So we actually give it 2 weeks after starting with us to say, oh, I didn't know BT did that. And certainly when I joined the business 3 years ago, that was me. I certainly said that quite a lot. So it's a real career. Some of our apprentices started 20 or 30 years ago. And are still working here. Actually, my director started as an apprentice, David Graham, so he's still here, and he climbed the ranks quite rapidly. Also, my colleague Steve, he started as an apprentice 7 years ago. So absolutely, it's a really, really good route into employment. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide now. Okay, so we're just going to talk about diversity and inclusion and why that's so important to us. So just covering through sort of what our plans are there, D&I networks, and where you can find out more information. This is a really big area that we are focusing on at the moment. So we could actually probably run a whole session on D&I. We don't have too much time, so I'm just going to give you sort of a brief snapshot. So obviously D&I with an international business like ours, D&I is really important that we have diversity within our organisation, that we're employing all walks of life. It really just makes it a more inclusive environment, and definitely helps being creative and innovative as well. So with BT, there are lots of different sort of plans going on at the moment. So we've got a plan called ERAP, which stands for Ethnicity Rapid Action Plan. So this is a plan that has been put together and is being focused on quite heavily. So it involves sort of accelerating diversity within the business. So how that relates to my team in early careers is all of our assessors at the assessment centres go through diversity training. But yeah, that's sort of followed through in the whole business. So lots of things sort of taking place there in terms of that. The D&I networks as part of BT, gosh, there's a long list of these. We have networks available for people to join. So we have carers communities. So if there's any carers out there who are also caring for someone as part, you know, in their free time, but also have to work, there's a forum for carers, also armed forces. We have an LGBT community network as well as the ethnic diversity network. But if you want to find out more, you can go on the BT Early Careers website, and there's a D&I section on there, so you can find out more information on that if you wish. So just going to move now to the next slide. So these are just myth busting. So let's have a look at these. So these are actually real life kind of myths that we hear from applicants. People think that being an apprentice doesn't lead to a full-time job. Hopefully the last slide did prove that it does, because you know, if you are an apprentice with BT and you fulfill your requirements and deliver a fantastic job, there is going to be always a job for you. We do employ 100,000 employees across our business, and at any one time there's always numerous opportunities for people internally if they want to move roles. But also, you know, the apprenticeship that you fulfill would lead to something more long term as well. But yeah, you do have that flexibility here at a business like this, of this size, to look around. You know, if you wanted to move into a different career further down the line after your apprenticeship, then that's always an option too. But yes, you know, apprenticeships do lead to a full-time job. It's for people that couldn't get into university, definitely not. You know, I think being an apprentice is a very viable route for people. You know, you do in some of our apprenticeships get that degree qualification without obviously all the fees that you'd have to pay as a student. So yeah, it's not just for people that couldn't get into university. It's definitely a career path in its own right. Only manual jobs. We've actually got lots of different apprenticeships on offer at the moment. What I will say is as well, as what's on our website currently, we're probably going to be releasing more roles maybe later on in the year as well, but we are recruiting for customer services roles and other roles as well. It's quite varied in terms of what we look for. Only earn the minimum wage. I think, you know, that is definitely a myth. The salaries in apprenticeships are all set at a certain level, but they are very competitive. In terms of what you get on top, in terms of the benefits package and the studying as well, it is a really, really good competitive package out there on the market. I think I covered this earlier, but yeah, you definitely won't be making coffee or tea, especially now we're in this virtual environment. Some of the roles might not necessarily be based out there in the workforce. Obviously, if you're applying for a field engineer or something like that, then you will be. If you're a non-essential office worker like myself, I'm obviously, as you can probably see, working from home, as a lot of us are at the moment anyway. So you'll just be making tea or coffee for yourself probably. You need to know somebody that works at BT already. Definitely not. Everybody actually goes through the same process. So everybody, just to keep it kind of, you know, accessible and fully inclusive, everybody applies through the same channels. So you don't need to know anybody that works here already. You won't get any good qualifications. You know, you do get fantastic degree level qualifications via the apprenticeship scheme. So yeah, that's definitely a myth. just for boys. Yeah, I mean, I've heard this one before. BT is referred as a boys club. It's definitely not the case, and I'm sure our apprentices can agree with that later on. It's a very sort of equal environment, very diverse. Yeah, I mean, I can speak for, you know, my team, and, you know, it's definitely a really kind of diverse and very fun culture environment. So just moving on to the programs and the application process. So some of these jobs now might have been taken off the website just because we did actually launch our apprenticeship schemes last year. So some might not be available. Definitely have a look at our BT Early Careers site. Hopefully you can see all these here. So this is a snapshot of what we've got live at the moment, but as I said, we may well get further roles that do get signed off later. So just to give you a snapshot, we've got customer services, electronics technician, power technician, radio and rigging, field engineer, data analyst, cybersecurity, sales specialist, security software, network engineer. So obviously some of these are quite technical, some of these are sort of based out in the field, quite engineering based, and then we've got customer service as well. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on the website. Locations are listed here as well. So as you can see, we cover quite a wide variation of different locations. So just to run through them for you, may not be relevant for you guys, but Aberdeen, Belfast, Birmingham, Bristol, Cardiff, Cheltenham, Darlington, Glasgow, Gloucester, Ipswich, London, Manchester, Reading, Southend and Torquay. So those are the full list of locations that we have. That does fluctuate as the campaign runs on. So starting salaries, I'm sure you're all very keen to hear about those. So they range from 16,422 per annum for all of our programs, and once you're in, you get an annual salary review. So apprentices do normally get an increase on a year-by-year basis. Obviously you'll be getting all the benefits as well. So you get the holiday, so annual leave, and all the benefits I mentioned earlier on. So all of our apprentices are on permanent contracts. So as long as you complete your apprenticeship successfully, you will roll off into a job with us. So yes, they are all sort of maybe 2 years or 3 years. It depends on the program. So you just have to look at the job that you're applying to and have a look at the different lengths of apprenticeship because they do vary from program to program. So all of our employees also have access to corporate discounts, free broadband, discounted BT products and services. I'm getting emails through all the time with different products and services. So there's lots and lots of different things there. Cinema vouchers used to be quite good, but obviously we're not able to go to the cinema much at the moment, or even at all, I think, right now. So hopefully soon. So yeah, as soon as we've got enough applicants, we do have to close our programs down, just because it's not a great candidate experience if we just leave them running open if we've already had enough applicants. So definitely apply sooner rather than later. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tips here. So this is, I guess, you know, going through applications, and, you know, if you do go through one of our assessments, they're all virtual at the moment. Obviously, our event, what we're doing at the moment, is virtual, so it won't be too dissimilar to this. But anyway, be yourself. That's always good. If you are on a video interview or a telephone interview, it's always good to be personable and just let your personality shine through. That is really effective. I know it's easy to get nervous when you're interviewing, but yeah, it always helps to kind of, you know, be yourself. Definitely. We are looking to meet the real you. We see every day, not just a version of yourself that you think you might need to present at an interview. So yeah, just relax and be yourself. We do actually see thousands of candidates every year, so we are experts in being to tell whether something isn't quite right. So most of the time, the thing you're worried about isn't a big deal. So yeah, try not to overthink things, and don't get too nervous. You know, recruitment is a two-way process, so it's not just about us getting to know you, it's about you guys making the right decisions for what's going to be the right match for you. So it is about finding that, you know, perfect match in terms of the company that's going to suit you guys as well. So it's about you finding out about us. Research, definitely. You'll be surprised how often we have to say this even to our experienced hires. Definitely, if you're going for an interview with us or with anyone else, really, just find out all about the business, the ins and outs of what they do, understand the areas of business that you're interested in. And I know it's really difficult because, I mean, when I was in your position, I didn't know what I wanted to do at all. And it is really tricky to understand that. But it's just all about sort of doing research and thinking about what you're passionate about, where your passions lie, and just aligning it to any sort of particular jobs that might be out there. Because if you're going to be interested on a daily basis in terms of what you're doing, that's, you know, going a long way, really. If you've got questions about any schemes, there is a contact on our social media, so you can reach out there. Definitely know why you're applying. Make sure you really after a career and not just applying sort of for every job you see. It's always good to have a bit of a strategy in terms of what you're looking for, rather than, you know, maybe just applying for everything. Practice. So yeah, practice makes perfect, that old saying. There's lots of tools out there on the internet to help you perfect your skills. Obviously, video interviewing is key at the moment because we're not meeting people face to face, and no companies are, I don't think, currently. So we've been virtually running video interviews and virtual assessment centres since I think our first virtual assessment centre was actually in July for apprentices, July last year. So we're fairly used to doing it, but yeah, it can be tricky. There's lots of different tips. I think, you know, definitely practicing and making sure your connections are all working and that sort of thing is always good. Okay, I think we've finished the presentation now. Hopefully I can unshare my screen and then we can move to the Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, no, that's great. Actually, if we could keep that up on the screen even.
Oh,
then
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Frame as a backdrop for the Q&A. I wonder,
yeah,
as
sure.
kind of a kickoff to that, then I know that you kind of introduced yourselves already from that respect, but it'll be interesting, I guess, to start off with maybe Lewis, as you're unmuted. I'll start with you, but as just a bit of a background in terms of what your journey has been so far. I know you told us around, you know, the apprenticeship that you're doing and things like that, but I guess from that decision-making moment, because often that's where our students are at the moment, and it'd be great to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. So when I was in school, I sort of didn't really like the idea of sixth form. I sort of went more for the college route. And during college, I just had a very big fondness around technology and just everything technology, whether it's computers or sort of anything that related to it. So I sort of pursued that at college. And then after doing so, I didn't actually come straight to BT. I did an apprenticeship with another company for 2 years in digital marketing, which again just built up my qualifications. And I think it actually showed me how much I enjoyed doing apprenticeships because it sort of opened a new door for me. And then with that, I knew a couple of people that had worked with BT or had done apprenticeships in the past with them, and just sort of went for it and sort of hoped for the best. And then it sort of played off from there. So I applied for the degree scheme and was fortunate enough to manage to get through all the stages and get employed with BT. But I think it's just sort of where I've had a fondness for technology, it was just able to push me sort of through and like I was able to show my interest without sort of having too much hassle around it. Yeah, that was sort of my main mindset pretty much from school and up until getting a job with BT.
No, that's great, and it shows. I know that I hear that a lot in terms of genuine passion for what you're, you know, applying for is such an important thing. But had you heard of like what an apprenticeship was, even at that early stage, you know, before you did that initial apprenticeship? I'm always interested in that as the student sitting here, I guess, and thinking, yeah, how did you start having those thoughts about that being an option?
It was, I think I've sort of always had an understanding of it, only because my dad's an electrician, so it was like sort of that side of apprenticeships, the very sort of contractor side. And I think when I was growing up, I always had the stereotype in my head that apprenticeships only were for contractor sides. However, then as I went through school, I sort of realised actually there's apprenticeships for pretty much any job role you can think of. There's always an apprenticeship level of that to get you in the door. So I sort of learned about them quite early on, and then just sort of always saw myself going towards them as I went through my sort of school and college.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great to hear. And I have so many more questions, and I know there are so many more student questions, but I want to just ask the same question to Charlotte to kind of just understand your journey and things like that.
Yeah, so I guess mine was slightly different. I kind of always was a bit unsure about going to uni. I guess similar to Lewis, my dad was an apprentice actually with BT many, many years ago. So that's kind of why I knew really that they were a thing. I did apply to uni, and then I just kind of decided that it wasn't really for me. So I had a year out, did some work, did some full-time work, some part-time work, and just applied to lots of different roles. I guess I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I think the beauty of apprenticeships was the fact that you don't need to know how to do the job, and that's what really appealed to me, the fact that I could, you know, get in the door hopefully of a really great company and then try out lots of different roles, which is basically what an apprenticeship is in a very kind of basic term. So yeah, I just kind of didn't set myself any limitations. I applied to like project management, to do like media, all sorts of different roles with all sorts of different companies, and then yeah, ended up in BT. Didn't really think that I would be doing tech, but you know, I just kind of gave it a chance, and I'm so glad that I did, because I really love it. I've really enjoyed doing the slightly technical rotations as well. Every 6 months we rotate into a new team. I've done some techie ones, and I've done some not so technical, more business side of ones, and I've actually found that I've enjoyed the technical ones a lot more. So yeah, I think, you know, it's I knew that uni wasn't really for me, but I'm glad that I kind of gave it a go, and just, yeah, I think just kind of I went with my gut feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so great, and it's so good to hear about, you know, different thought processes at that age as well. Because I guess hearing you both, then Lewis, you were very kind of tech driven, and that was, and Charlotte, you were kind of more circumstance driven, and have found out that actually you really are enjoying the tech side of it. So that's really good to hear both of them. In aim of not always asking Lewis a question first and then therefore you following, I'm going to follow on with you, Charlotte, and say, so you are sitting here as a successful applicant, right? So I'm going to ask Kate about the other side of the table, but what do you think made you successful, so therefore you could give that advice, I guess, to the students on the line?
I think kind of the reason why I was a successful applicant is research, and I think just passion. Even though it wasn't necessarily passion for tech, it was, I think, passion to learn and passion to really give something a go and to work. You know, you don't have to know everything about the business and what you're doing, but I did my research about BT. I did have a genuine interest in the company, and BT is quite an environmentally conscious company as well, which is, you know, something that I really liked. So learning a lot about the company and the kind of things they do, I think gave me a real advantage. And I think just researching just general interview tips and things like that. I've had a lot of past jobs, like part-time jobs and things like that. So I think that really helped me in terms of interviewing. And in all honesty, I think applying to lots of different companies really helped, because they all have a really similar interview process, especially for apprenticeships. The steps, it's kind of initial one, sending your CV, do a video interview, do an assessment centre, and then you might get the job. I think that helped me because I just got experience, and I just started to kind of twig on to what they were looking for, and what kind of candidate that they wanted. But there's lots of great tools out there. I think Barclays do life skills, and you can practice video interviews, you can learn about assessment centres. So it does sound weird, but just research, looking at the company, looking at what you're applying for, why you want to work there, really helped me, and just kind of having some things prepared for my interviews. And I think I felt a lot more confident, and I think that's probably what really helped me against the other candidates.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's so much in there, in the sense of, I hope the students on the line are kind of jotting them down, because some great points there. Did you kind of, throughout those processes, have like a couple in your bag where you knew, okay, I'm going to talk about this part-time job, this experience in this part-time job that I'd had, or was it kind of an accumulation of that over time?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think you get asked very similar questions. You're 9 times out of 10 going to get asked a sort of situational question. So give me an example of a time that you were in this, or you had to demonstrate this skill. So I started to build up like a really good kind of backlog of things that I could just pull out, and different experiences that I just sat and thought about, and even just jotted down and think, well, you know, I did DV, so this shows these different skills, and just thinking of some examples. And it did really help, because it just makes that whole interview process go a lot smoother, because you've got some things, you're not kind of sat there going like, I don't know, and then getting all flustered. And that really helped. And yeah, I think you notice, you start to pick up, oh, they're probably going to ask me this, and they're probably going to ask you that. So you can start to come up with some standard kind of answers that you can change a little bit. But yeah, that prep definitely helped me a lot. And even for the video interviews, they're probably going to ask you similar questions, and I literally just had a little post-it note above my laptop when I was filming myself, because some of them you didn't get a chance to redo it, so just some little prompts as well really helped me.
That's great. Such a good advice. And I would encourage you, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, students, but I'm going to ask the same question to Lewis, but if you can think of any examples that you might have in your back pocket which you might use in this example. I know that it's often a scary thing to write in the chat box and share your experiences, but do put them in there if you're confident, and you might want to run them past us, because today's a good time to do that. But yeah, no, so great advice. Put in the chat box if you have any ideas that you think might be examples you could use in interviews in the future. Lewis, I guess you had your previous apprenticeship experience to build on, but was there anything else that you'd give us like advice as to why you think you might have been successful at BT specifically?
I'd have to say it's very much sort of about like your interest in sort of your drive for wanting to get the job. I found that sort of even before applying with BT and other companies, that a lot of interviews sort of, it's all about how you come across as when you're speaking to that person, and anyone can tell if someone's interested in the subject or what they're applying to do. So I sort of, where I was applying for the job at BT, I could tell that was what I wanted to actually like do for my career, or sort of later on in life. So I could come across really easy in the interview. But I definitely would say sort of focus on what you want to get in your career and sort of apply that to when you're searching for your apprenticeships. That was the sort of key bit of advice I'd got from people who I'd spoke to beforehand. So like focus on what you want to get out of the job, as opposed to sort of just trying to get any job that you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Being genuine and then being able to follow up on it, I guess, is really key. And I could see you kind of nodding in agreement throughout those kind of examples. Kate, from sitting on the other side, just to give our students that kind of tip from that side, is there anything else you'd add there or you'd build on?
There are some really, really good points that the guys have made, definitely. I think, we are in an environment this year where we are having record numbers of applicants coming through. For obvious reasons, I think a lot of companies aren't recruiting as much at the moment. So I think, it is important that you do that research, you do kind of try and make an impact, because when you're attending the virtual events with us, so as an apprentice, once you've got through the first few stages of your application process. So once you've applied online, you don't need a CV or anything like that. You go through and there's some online assessments. So those are the first bits to do. Those, once you've got through those, I think the pass rate for those is quite good, and they're not too tricky, I don't think. I think, yeah, definitely try and practice online tests, because I think some of the job boards like Indeed and Monster sometimes have some practice runs. So once you've done the online tests, the video interview bit, that is definitely something you can practice for. You won't know what questions you're going to get, but yeah, just definitely practice sort of talking in front of the camera. You can maybe get a tripod, get your mobile phone, practice delivering some answers, because I think once you're you haven't done that and then you're on the spot and you're doing it for the first time, it can be really daunting, especially at this sort of job level. Definitely, we're not looking for the perfect video interviews at all, and I think for a lot of the apprentices, it might just be an online test or a video interview or a telephone interview, and then it would be the next stage would be that assessment centre. So with the virtual assessment centres, we started running those in July. We normally run them with 10 apprentices, so 10 potential apprentices, and then we have 10 assessors. So the assessors are the managers from BT that help us throughout the day. So it's a really good opportunity for all the applicants to really impress them during the assessment centre. So it's very chilled out, and hopefully the guys will agree with their experiences, Charlotte and Lewis. But yeah, we do try and really put everyone at ease so they can really deliver their best performance. You know, everyone really wants to get the best out of everybody on the day. We don't want to put people under pressure or make people feel nervous. So our hiring managers taking part, you know, normally it would be a one-on-one interview as one of the exercises. Obviously that used to take place face-to-face in a room. Now it's a virtual room. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. You'll be on camera and you'll be just, you know, answering some interview questions. Like Charlotte said, some of them are situation based. So sometimes we'll ask you to provide an example of a situation that matches up with something like, you know, determination or team skills. But, you know, we're aware that you don't have that work experience, some of you. So, you know, you can find an example from an extracurricular activity or school, study, college, something like that. So yeah, but I think it is all about trying to stand out from the crowd and, you know, wherever possible, trying to have that, you know, enthusiasm and just looking really interested in what you're speaking about. I think always goes a long way. All the little things, you know, trying to maintain eye contact during the interview and things like that. I know it's really difficult, and nerves do get in the way, definitely. I think when you're interviewing for a job, there's so much on the line, isn't there? But I think, you know, as the guys have said, if you're applying to lots of different companies, when you practice their events, they're all going to be similar to ours. So, you know, you do become a bit of an expert at it once you've done a few. So definitely do that, in my opinion. Hope that helps.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's so many points in there to kind of take away for the students and to bear in mind. I had one quick question just around the practicality. So say if, you know, in the next day or so, our students on the line now want to get that first stage done, get, you know, which you spoke about, you know, the online application. Is there a time span between when they have to then go and do the next thing? Because I'm just thinking you might want to go away and prepare a bit more if we're yeah.
No, definitely. So normally, so it's all kind of quite automated in terms of the first steps of the process. So the online application, get that done. That's really basic. So get that done as soon as possible, because you can just fill in your details, and once that's in, I think you'll receive an instant email actually, and that will make the next steps clear. And it depends on which scheme you apply to as to which online assessment or telephone interview or video interview. So for example, if you're applying for customer services, it's normally a telephone interview rather than a video interview. But yeah, it's all different depending on which scheme. But yeah, you do have some time to prepare in between. I think it does make it quite clear sort of when the deadline is. So it'll sometimes maybe give 7 days or something like that. It might give a bit longer. But obviously, if anybody is having any difficulties or has any issues, there is a team that you can contact. I know it is a bit nerve-wracking being on a video interview, so if you do make a mistake, there is an opportunity if you know you need to do that again, then you can contact us.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's the good then call to action, I guess, from today, is making sure that everyone completes that first stage of the application process and
Yeah,
get the ball rolling. That's great. There are so many questions coming in from the students. There's just one more I wanted to kind of touch on to both Lewis and Charlotte. And I always think it's really key to talk about, you know, company culture and how you feel about being at BT, because there's no better people to hear it from than kind of yourselves. And you've touched on it in terms of the importance of diversity and inclusion earlier, Kate. That's so important. And I just wondered, you know, from your own experiences, Lewis, I'll start with you. Is there any kind of top line things you could talk about what it's like, maybe more when you're in the office, and a little bit about that transition, but really what the kind of culture feels like to bring that to life?
I'd have to say it's a very social sort of aspect. Like, it's a really nice atmosphere. Like you said, when you're at the office, even through what we're doing now, remote, it's still a really great atmosphere, and everyone's like really sort of promoting and motivating of each other. But even in general, just sort of having like an apprentice team and an apprentice group around you, it just sort of takes away from some of the stresses that the day could be, because it sort of gives you that sense of almost like when you are in school, like it gives you that sort of classroom sort of fit aspects where there's a whole group of people within a very close range of your age that sort of have all been through what you've been through in the past few years, and you're all working towards the same thing. So at least from my point of view, I love the actual apprentice culture and the sort of feel about it, because it's so social, and even taken away from the office and with the social events and stuff like that, you really get to actually know who you're working with. And like I said, where everyone is the same age, it's just that bit nicer that everyone gets on. And even when you take it into your operational team, so away from the apprentice like group itself, a lot of people in the offices have been where you've been. So you've either been with apprentices or are ex-apprentices. So they all know what you've been through, and they can relate a lot to what you're going through or what course you're doing. So it's really nice when you're sort of either struggling on anything, or if you need help, there never seems like there's no one to go to. There's always someone who can support you and push you through what you're having an issue with.
That's so great to hear, and also the fact that that's continued virtually is so important, you know, throughout this year. So I think that's great. And Charlotte, is there anything you'd add, I guess, before we move on to the questions?
Yeah, I mean, I'd completely agree with what Lewis says. The apprentice kind of support bubble, I'd say, that we have is great. You just know that if you ever need help with anything, that there'll always be like 10 people that are willing to help you kind of at the drop of the hat. And I think as well in the wider space, and not just even in the apprentices, I think the way that BT employees view apprentices is great. We kind of have so much respect, and everyone views us as normal kind of employees. There's no kind of stigma that people think, oh, you're just an apprentice. That's just absolutely not what it's like. People like the directors, everyone, they love us apprentices. We're really kind of respected, and it's lovely. We are treated like normal employees. We are trusted with work, really important work sometimes, and everyone's so supportive, all the teams. There's really good kind of even rotation support, so when you go into a team, you're really well supported as well. And I think even through COVID, even though it's been a really tough year, I think that BT has done really well in making sure that everyone's okay, and I think all the teams I've been in have been really supportive and just kind of going the extra mile to do fun things, and you know, to have quizzes here and there just to kind of check in and make sure that everyone's okay. So yeah, it's a really lovely culture. I had no idea what to expect. It was very scary, but when I first started, but now everyone's so lovely. It's those worries soon disappeared.
Oh, that's so great to hear, and you know, very important this year. So that's I'd definitely be encouraged if I was sitting here thinking about applying to apprenticeship to hear that. I'm just going to now go on to some of the questions from the students, because obviously I could ask you questions all evening because I've got so many, but I want to make sure to get to those ones. So I'm going to just quickly run through the ones in the chat box first. So this is from Bence, and I'm going to ask this one to Kate because it's a bit practicalities around the application. So
Okay.
What kind of apprenticeships did you apply for? I know you went through them earlier, but particularly Bence is interested in kind of networking or maths related.
Maths related, wow. Okay. I would definitely have a look at the early careers site, because outside of my area there's apprenticeship roles that I'm not too familiar with. So I mean, the ones I went through earlier sort of tend to be quite technical. There's sort of networks roles. We have just released a lot of field engineering roles. But I would definitely just have a look what's on the BT early careers site under apprentices, because there is a detailed description under the role. You know, like we've said, you know, at this stage of your career, you probably don't know what you want to do. So it's probably always good to have maybe a look at the different jobs that are out there and just have a look at the descriptions, because something might actually sound quite appealing that you wouldn't have thought it would be. But yeah, I don't think we have anything like economics or anything related. I'm not sure if any of the other guys, the apprentices, know if there's anything like that. We do. I don't think there is this year.
I'm not sure about this year, but I think there was, like, definitely last year. I know that there was an accounting one. There we go.
Yeah. There isn't at the moment, but because they can get released all through the year. So with the graduate scheme, we can only release once a year, but with apprentices, they do get released throughout. So if there was one last year, there's a good chance there might be one this year. So that's good.
Well, that's great, because
keep an eye out.
Yeah, we'll signpost the students to that early careers page after today. So that's
Excellent.
good to have a look on there. Another question from Zaid, which is inspired by the presentation at the beginning as well, Kate. So another one for you. But you spoke about the charities and the engagement there. So which charities or things does BT support, or do you have any examples of other things that went on?
Oh God, there's so many. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the graduates raised about £30,000 for UNICEF, but yeah, literally there would be too many to list, because I think with an organisation of this size and breadth, it's you know, there's different charities that are supported by different units, but you know, we do sort of give a lot, and those 3 volunteering days per year as well are so useful, because that is just you know, 3 days that every employee gets to give something back. I'm not sure, guys, do you know of any other particular charities that we support that we can name? I could probably get Rachel to find out.
There's lots. I know that we support kind of breast cancer care with the apprentices. We do a charity event called Pedal the Pennines, which is like a fundraiser for breast cancer care. But so many employees are really passionate about charities, and quite often we're doing fundraising that BT kind of supports. Yeah, they love volunteering.
Yeah. It's very much promoted. So
You actually know the answer, Kate, as well.
are you still there, Rachel? Sorry to drop you in it.
It's fine. So when it comes to the volunteering days, you can literally focus your efforts on anything you want to. There is no set limit of which charities you can go and support or which organisations you can support. You literally log on to the volunteering website, log on that you spent, record that you spent a day, half a day with this organisation, and it'll get credited to you. It can be anything and pretty much everything that you're passionate about. So you might want to go and spend the day, I don't know, supporting riding for the disabled. That's fine. You might want to do a bake sale like Kate. I did a day in a school helping set up all their social media. So it can there's no limit on it, basically. There's not a set list. It can, quite frankly, be whatever you're interested in.
Oh, that's great. And so it gives motivation to that student in terms of, Zaid, if there's any particular charity or anything that, you know, ended up working with BT, you could definitely get them involved. So that's brilliant. Thank you. So just one other kind of 2 other comments that have come in the chat box before moving on to the Q&A. So Bence has said, I'm a bit worried because English is my second language. I'm sure that there's lots of people that work at BT in that same position. Am I correct in saying so, Kate?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. No, that I mean, I do feel for you. Sorry, I didn't catch the name, but yeah, I mean, I can't speak any other languages, so I do very much admire anybody that has got English as their second language. But yeah, I mean, we're a global business, so I'm trying to book in sessions at the moment with because I recruit specifically for the global part of our business. So some of my colleagues are based out in India, Germany, so yeah, I'm frequently dealing with those colleagues. But yeah, here at in the UK as well, we've got lots of international colleagues. So yeah, absolutely, don't let that put you off.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that I was convinced that would be the answer, but I'm glad that so the final one then, so is there any work experience on offer for kind of secondary school students?
We do a summer placement scheme. I don't think that is particularly aimed at secondary school students. Rachel, do you know anything about if we do any work experience? Sorry to put you on the spot again.
Okay. We don't tend to offer work experience in general, unfortunately. The reason being is that we're not able to insure anybody that hasn't got a BT contract.
I thought it was a health and safety issue, yeah.
Yeah, there's health and safety issues. I believe in Industrial Park, they do offer some levels of work experience if you're near Ipswich, and that I specifically run out of Industrial Park in Ipswich. But in general, the general response is unfortunately we're not able to because of health and safety, unfortunately.
And just
sorry about that.
No, and just a good question. And one point on that is that we actually are running with Pathway CTM a taster day with BT later in the year. So albeit not work experience in that longer form, but equally that'll be a good chance to kind of build on what we've done today. So moving on to the kind of questions in the Q&A. So most of my experiences within a different field is it still good to talk about experience? So if you're going through the application process, you've got experience, but you don't think it's hugely relevant to the role specifically.
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, in terms of the assessment process, so the online tests are, you know, very sort of their abstract tests and things like that, so that your experience won't come up then at all. You might need to draw on it during the video interview, depending on what the questions are. There might be situational based questions, but any work experience is valid for you to draw on in terms of experience, for like examples of teamwork and things like that, you know. So I wouldn't be put off with that. You know, I think when you're going through the assessment centre, there is an interview and there will be questions, kind of talk it where you will get an opportunity to discuss your work experience. It won't matter if it is of a different sort of career. That is quite normal. You know, when we do the graduate schemes, most of the graduates, they've worked in part-time jobs and they use those as their examples, and it's no different with apprentices really. It's very varied in terms of what people draw on when they do deliver their answers. So yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
Great. And another question come in, which is, if someone wanted to work directly in BT Sports, for example, do you apply to a role with them, or do you get given the job within BT and Sport?
I think it's quite a popular area that people want to work at BT Sports for some reason. I'm not sure actually. We don't run any schemes currently for BT Sports, but I think if you look at the main BT career site, there should be. Rachel, over to you. Do you know anything about getting a foot in the door with BT Sport?
Yeah, so last year we did have an apprenticeship with BT Sport. We had an entry-level logging role in BT Sport specifically. Again, I haven't seen that one come through as being a role that's available yet this year, so
but maybe it will.
It
we
might
don't
come.
know. Yeah,
it was one of the ones that landed late last year. It was one that didn't come in until about April or May. So when we say we get them all year, we really mean we get them all year.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, if there's not a specific role like that, it would be the case that you happen to be spending some time working on BT Sports. It would kind of be randomly allocated. So you could always end up with it, but you might not. Is the easiest way of describing it, I guess.
No, that's absolutely fine and good to know. Thank you for that one, and good question. We've got another one, which is often a concern. So, is there a way of doing a trial to prove my abilities? As I know my interview will not be great. So I've gained work experience with 2 companies from 16, and I know I can get on with people and work well, but I'm just not good with video. I know that I'm sure that there's, as you say, the same process for everyone, but
it really is. And, you know, I think what you'll find with the process here at BT is we do our very, very best to make people feel at ease. We have in the morning when we do the assessment centres, we have like a welcome session where we do try and put people at ease before they go into the sort of assess exercises bit. On the video interviews as well. I mean, I've not actually done one myself. I've been on the receiving end, but I believe there is a bit of a practice ice-breaking question to get you sort of in the mood for it. But yeah, you know, you can practice these things with family members and friends. Charlotte and Lewis, how did you guys find your video interviews? Was there any sort of practice questions on there when you did them? Do you remember? Or
Yeah, so I found them quite varied. Some companies were quite mean, where they always had a practice question. Some were quite mean, you didn't get to re-record it. Once you've done it, it's done, it's off. Others, you got the chance to re-record it, which I actually kind of isn't necessarily better, because you find yourself there like redoing it 30 times and just over analysing it. But like the main thing I'd say about the video interviews is it's your chance to get your personality over. So if you mess up and make a mistake, that's not a bad thing at all. You know, everyone's going to be very nervous. They are quite unnatural. I'm pretty sure Barclays Life Skills, you can do practices of them. I would highly recommend it, because it is very odd, and you're just kind of talking to yourself and you're trying to make eye contact and think of what you're saying. You don't have very long to answer. But yeah, it's just seeing who you are as a person, and how, like, kind of your mannerisms and how you speak, and your answers to, I guess, kind of pressured on the spot questions. But it is just, you know, if you can kind of relax and like laugh a little bit, even, you know, you can tell a joke, that kind of thing. Don't worry too much. It's unnatural, but yeah, it's a different way of testing you. So it's getting across different parts of who you are as a person. So if you just kind of see it as that, just injecting who you are, then that might help you a little bit.
brilliant.
that's great. I'm just gonna whiz through some more questions, just conscious of time actually. So one from Ethan: is there an age limit to when you can apply? So what's the youngest age you can apply?
So hi Ethan. So yeah, we can only take you on from 16. But yeah, I'm assuming you're over the age of 16. If you're going to be 16 at the start of the apprenticeship, I think that's fine. So for the live roles at the moment, the start date is September 2021. So yeah, providing you're 16 by then, I think that is correct, Rachel, isn't it?
Yes.
Excellent. So yeah.
So another question from Samuel, so on qualifications, what qualifications do you need to apply for BT? Does it vary from role to role?
It does vary, yeah. So you really do need to. So we've got level 2, 3, 4, and 6, and there's lots of different criteria for each. So definitely just have a look. The entry criteria will be listed. So for some, you do need to prove that you've got certain results in GCSEs, but not for all. So definitely just have a look and check. Hopefully, there's something there for everyone.
Great. One other question around that was the length of the courses. So Charlotte and Lewis, how long are your courses?
So our course you're at university for 3.5 years in theory, but it's a 4-year course. But across that, you're sort of, again, it's because it's a bit spread out where your workload also operates alongside the university degree. So it's spread out to be in support of you.
Brilliant. And does that also vary from role to role, Kate, or is that set?
Yeah, it does. And they're not all 3 or 4 years. Some of them are shorter, so maybe 2 years. So it does vary depending on the apprenticeship scheme. Yeah.
Great. And that kind of just, I'm trying to summarize a few of the questions. So we've got brilliant. But one from Bradley. So in the way that you are offered a role at the end of it, all being well, is it a case that you have to stay on sat roles, or is it you're able to leave and go elsewhere afterwards if you'd like to?
Yeah, so as long as you've seen through the entire apprenticeship, so I think you can get some sort of, I guess, choice of looking outside of that once you've done it. But yeah, you'd probably end up staying where you were. You get offered a role within that area of expertise that you'd built up. But yeah, I mean, it's very much encouraged at BT to widen your skill set and maybe look around. So I've in my time here, I've only been here 3 years, but I've moved from one role to another role within the same recruitment department, and I've got colleagues around me that have moved from recruitment to HR or HR to learning and development training. So yeah, once you've kind of got that apprenticeship behind you and you've got that, then looking forward into your future career, it's a good business to be able to kind of spread your wings and really sort of look around if there's another area of the business you want to move into. You could be doing a similar role to what you've been doing but working for a different area of the business or a different location or something like that. So yeah, hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I can see a few, so I'm going to summarize in this one. So around how frequently you can reapply. So a parent on the line, actually, a son applied and wasn't successful. How can they reapply again?
Yeah, it's once per campaign usually. So for an apprentice role, it would have to be to the next campaign now, I think. So correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel, because I know it's a bit more confusing with apprentice because we do keep launching different sets of roles throughout the year. But I think it would have to wait until we launch the next campaign, which would probably be at the end of this year before the campaign for the 2022 starters. So I think it might be that, but there might be other entry level roles on the main BT Careers website. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that was for the last campaign, potentially, I don't know.
Oh yeah, then they could apply to this campaign. Yeah. So our campaign, I think we still had live adverts running sort of all through last year, probably up until maybe November or so, because we did actually have an intake of apprentices that are starting with us in January. So yeah, if it was the case that they did apply and get rejected for the last campaign, then yes, they can definitely apply to this one. That's fine.
Great. And then it's going to lead me into one of the most important questions, which I'm going to end on. But before doing that, I just wanted to kind of round off the panel, I guess, which is if there was one key takeaway thing which you're saying to the students, choose BT over anywhere else, I'm going to extend it to everyone on the panel and just say, maybe Charlotte, over to you first. What would you say is kind of an ending note to the panel?
Yeah, I think the beauty about BT is it's such a huge company, and definitely if you're looking at doing an apprentice, BT fully embraces their apprentices. You're given so many opportunities to learn, and BT do so many amazing things. You get to work on cool projects that actually make a difference, and it's not just like to earn money. You're actually kind of working on things that help people. So yeah, there's many places you can go, you can move around, you can kind of really have your whole career at BT. and many people do, and it's once you're in the company, it's so clear why they do, because it's just such a lovely and very supportive company to be in. So I would definitely consider BT, whether it's tech or business or whatever you want to get into. It's a globally recognized company, so it's a really good one to kind of have if you want to apply.
Absolutely. And Lewis, so to you know.
It'll probably follow, again, very similar trend to Charlotte, but sort of highlighting again like the way that BT is just getting bigger and bigger, and the innovation that they're pushing towards. You have such freedom in the sense of different job roles. If you're sort of feel like you're limited in one role, BT has basically every career option or sort of every job role you could probably think of that you can test the waters with. So it just gives you that sort of full understanding of what job roles are available, and BT has support of all of them. So it's really great. And again, that's sort of probably why I'd promote working for BT over any other company.
That's a nice note to end on. And Kate, I don't know if there's anything else. I know that they want you to.
I'll round up, very quickly. So yeah, I would just say the people. I mean, that has been a continuous theme for me since joining. I mean, I've worked within 2 different teams now, and I think I think this was mentioned earlier by the guys, but in terms of people sort of helping out apprentices, it doesn't matter about job level. There's directors and heads of units that you'll speak to, and they'll speak to you on the same level, and it's great. The people here are fantastic, and you learn such a lot from them as well. So it's a really good opportunity to learn for some really talented, innovative people working here. So I think the people thing stands out the most for me. So that's what I'll finish on.
That's great, and such a nice note to end on from everyone. I'm just going to share now in the chat box a survey. I promise you it takes less than 1 minute to complete. I'd really love all the students who are on the line to do it, just to give us a bit of feedback on today and to help support you into the roles. A clear action from today is the roles are open. Lots of roles are open online at the moment. Go and have a look on the Early Careers website, and every single student who's attended today or signed up for today will get a follow-up from us, and that means that we can help support you through the application. We can pick up the phone and do that kind of mentorship support for any of you that have any questions you're not quite sure. But really, well done for joining. Thank you so much for our panelists today. I mean, I couldn't have done it without you, and it's great to hear about all of your experiences. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope it's been useful, and any kind of final comments from the students, do pop them in the chat box, and I'll hang around here for a second just to make sure you have that Typeform link. But thank you, and have such a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.